All right, let's talk Akamai's Q3 2025 earnings, because wow, this wasn't just another report card. For a lot of people watching this stock, this was the quarter. The moment that whole transformation story we've been hearing about, well, it finally hit the accelerator. So let's dive right in.
And here's what that looks like in numbers. A massive 21% pop. You just don't see a move like that in a single week unless something big just happened. It tells you the market woke up and saw something it had been hoping to see for a long, long time. So the big question is, what was the trigger? What caused this huge re-rating?
Well, it all kicked off with the headline numbers. And really, it was all about a massive beat on the bottom line. Revenue growth was fine, it was solid, but the real story here, the thing that got everyone excited, was the profitability. Akamai didn't just squeak by expectations, they absolutely crushed them.
And here's the number that got all the headlines. $1.86. That's their non-GAAP earnings per share. This one figure was basically a giant signal to investors that, hey, this new strategy isn't just about chasing growth at any cost. No, this is about profitable growth. Now, to put that $1.86 into perspective, you have to know what Wall Street was expecting. And this number, it was a full 13% higher than the consensus estimates. So analysts were already thinking it would be a decent quarter. What they got was a fantastic one. And you know what? The market absolutely loves a big positive surprise.
And it's not just about beating the analysts' guesses, right? The momentum here is real. We're talking a 17% jump in profitability compared to this exact same time last year. That shows some serious tangible progress. This isn't just a one-off thing. They're fundamentally improving the business.
Okay, so let's look at the final scorecard here. It really puts it all together for you. You can see revenue, a nice little beat, about 1.5%. Respectable, but look at that EPS line. That's where the magic is. A 13% beat versus what the street expected, and 17% growth year over year. I mean, that is just a crystal clear picture of a company with some serious operating leverage.
But those headline numbers, they only tell you what happened, not why. To really get why the stock jumped 21% with so much conviction, we gotta pop the hood and look at the engine. We need to look at the huge strategic shift that is literally changing what Akamai is as a company.
And honestly, this chart right here says it all. If you think of Akamai as just that old content delivery network, the CDN that just speeds up websites, you're thinking of the old Akamai. The new Akamai is a security and cloud powerhouse. Just look at this mix. Security is now over half the business at 54%. And that cloud computing slice, it's already at 17% and growing like crazy. That old legacy delivery business, it's now less than a third of the whole pie.
And this really drives home that two-speed story. On one hand, you've got the old Akamai, the delivery business, it's shrinking, down 4%. But then you look at the new Akamai. You've got security humming along at a healthy 10% growth, and then the real star of the show, cloud infrastructure. It's just exploding, accelerating to an incredible 39% growth year over year. It's like two different companies under one roof.
Okay, so beyond all the great numbers, there was this one thing, this one announcement that was like throwing gasoline on the fire. It was a huge catalyst that really captured everyone's imagination. And that was the launch of the Akamai Inference Cloud. This is their big, direct play into what comes next in the whole AI revolution. I mean, seriously, endorsements don't get much better than this. When Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, puts out a statement saying you're working together to push AI forward, people pay attention. The market listens. This isn't just a press release. This is a massive stamp of approval. It gives huge credibility to Akamai's whole strategy of moving AI processing out to the edge, closer to where we all are, where speed is everything. And this wasn't just talk and fancy quotes. They backed it up with some huge customer wins. We're talking a $37 million deal with a global gaming company, a $31 million commitment from a major European bank. And maybe the most impressive part? They announced that all three of the big US cloud providers, the giants, the hyperscalers, they're all now using Akamai's platform. That is a massive vote of confidence. So a great quarter is, it's great. But what really gives a stock legs, what gives it that lasting momentum, is a confident outlook. And let me tell you, management's guidance and just their overall tone on the earnings call, it was super bullish. It really reinforced this idea that what we just saw isn't a fluke, it's sustainable.
Now you have to look closely at the guidance because the nuance here is really important. They guided next quarter's revenue pretty much in line with what everyone was expecting. Okay, fine. But, and this is a big but, They raised their guidance for the full year's profit by about 5%. That's a huge signal to the market. It says, hey, we're going to keep expanding our margins and stay super profitable, even as we're pouring money back into growth.
Okay, so let's recap. You've got a huge earnings beat, a really compelling new AI product that's turning heads, and management sounding super confident about the future. So, how did the market react? How did it translate all that good news into actual trading? Let's take a look at the price and the volume.
The reaction was just instantaneous and powerful. So the stock closes at $73 on November 6th. Then the earnings hit the wire. And after hours trading, boom, it's already over $78. By the time the market closed the very next day, it had rocketed all the way up to almost $84. Just an incredible move.
And this is what tells you it was a real move. The volume. Look at this. Trading volume almost tripled. It went from about 3.3 million shares changing hands to nearly 9.6 million the day after the report. This tells you it wasn't just a few people getting excited. This was a broad, high-conviction stampede into the stock. Big money was moving in.
All right, so that brings us to the big finish. We've seen the stellar results, we've unpacked the strategy, and we've watched the market's explosive reaction. Now it's time to put it all together and make a decision. This is our final take. The next call.
And here it is, the million-dollar question, or maybe the 21% question. After a run like that, is there anything left in the tank? Has all the good news been priced in, or is this just the beginning of a whole new chapter for Akamai?
Okay, so here's our thesis. For the next quarter, Q4, we think revenue will probably land right where they guided. But we're looking for another beat on earnings, on EPS, driven by those strong margins. As for the stock price, we think it'll probably take a breather, consolidate around this new higher price for a bit before it starts to grind its way up again into next year. And what you need to watch for is simple. Two things. One, does that cloud infrastructure business keep up its crazy growth? And two, do we start to see some real customers signing up for that new Inference Cloud? Those are the catalysts.
Look, this quarter was a clear turning point, an inflection point. It was the proof that the company's big pivot to faster-growing, more profitable businesses is really working. And now you throw in a credible AI story on top of that, we think the stock has what it takes to keep beating the market. Our rating is a clear outperform.
This is not financial advice.